There's a product in the cleaning aisle of your hardware store right now called DampRid, white crystals in a plastic tub. It costs $12 to $18, and when it fills with liquid, you throw it away and buy another. The crystals inside are calcium chloride, a $4 bag of salt at any pool supply store. And nobody mentions the one part that turns this from a product you replace forever into a one-time purchase. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build a passive dehumidifier for about $4 that runs without electricity and how to regenerate it in your kitchen oven so it works like new again, indefinitely. Stick around, because once you understand this, you will never look at that cleaning aisle the same way. But first, think about what humidity is actually doing inside the spaces you live in. The basement that always smells faintly of earth no matter how many candles you burn. The closet where your leather jacket keeps developing mold along the seam. The storage unit where cardboard boxes come out soft and warped. The boat or RV you close up for 3 months and open to find everything smelling like the inside of an old tent. The vacation cabin that sits sealed through an entire humid summer. This is not a cleaning problem. This is a chemistry problem. Excess moisture in enclosed air condenses on cooler surfaces. It feeds mold spores that are always present and always waiting. It penetrates wood fibers, oxidizes metal, and degrades leather, fabric, paper, and electronic components over time. The EPA recommends keeping indoor relative humidity between 30 and 50%. Above 60%, mold begins colonizing surfaces within 24 to 48 hours. You cannot scrub your way out of that. You have to remove the moisture from the air. The question is whether that requires a machine costing $100 to $300, according to Home Depot's 2023 pricing data, drawing 300 to 800 watts of electricity and adding $30 to $60 a month to your energy bill, according to Energy Star, or whether it requires a bag of salt in a container you already own. Here is what calcium chloride actually does, and why the chemistry is so effective it surprises people the first time they see it work. Calcium chloride is what chemists call a hygroscopic salt, a compound with an extremely strong chemical affinity for water molecules. It was first commercialized as a drying agent back in 1836, and the chemistry has not changed since. When the crystals are exposed to humid air, the calcium and chloride ions on the crystal surface attract water vapor molecules out of the surrounding atmosphere and bind them. This process continues until the crystals reach equilibrium with the room, meaning they keep pulling moisture until the air around them matches the moisture content of the crystal surface. At high humidity levels, the crystals absorb so much water that they dissolve into it, a process called deliquescence, forming a brine that drips into whatever container sits beneath them. Calcium chloride can absorb moisture up to 6 times its own weight. That is documented chemistry, not a marketing number. Compare that to silica gel, the little packets stuffed inside shoeboxes and beef jerky bags. Silica gel typically absorbs only 10 to 30% of its own weight under similar conditions. Calcium chloride is in a different category entirely, especially in high humidity environments where it dramatically outperforms. And unlike a mechanical dehumidifier, it requires no energy input whatsoever. No compressor, no fan, no power outlet, no noise. You place it in a space and it works silently and continuously for as long as there is moisture in the air. Here is the exact build. You need a bag of calcium chloride in pellet or flake form, not powder, sold at pool supply stores, hardware stores like Lowe's and Home Depot, and farm supply outlets. A typical 5-pound bag runs about $4 to $15 depending on brand and retailer. You also need a container that separates the crystals from the liquid they collect. The simplest version is a clean plastic colander set inside a bowl of similar diameter. Fill the colander with crystals about 2 to 3 inches deep. As the crystals absorb moisture and begin to dissolve, the brine drips through the holes of the colander into the bowl below while the crystals on top keep working. Empty the bowl when it fills. That is the entire setup. For a closet or small room, one filled colander handles the job. For a basement or larger space, place multiple units around the perimeter. Each unit effectively serves a radius of roughly 3 to 5 feet, with diminishing effect further out. It does not pull air across a room the way a powered unit with a fan does. For a full basement, think of it as zone coverage, not whole room coverage. Now here's the part nobody who sells disposable absorbers will ever put on the packaging. When your crystals have fully dissolved into brine and nothing remains in the colander but liquid, the calcium chloride is still there. It is dissolved in the water it collected, but chemically it is completely intact. It has not been used up. It has not degraded. It has simply absorbed as much water as it can hold at room temperature. Heating it drives the absorbed water back out and restores the compound to its original dry, active state. Here is how you do it. Pour the brine from your collection bowl into a shallow, oven-safe dish. A glass baking dish works perfectly. Set the oven between 300 and 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 150 to 200 degrees Celsius. Place the dish inside and leave it for 1 to 3 hours. As the oven heats the brine, the water evaporates out through the oven vent. What remains in the dish is dry, reconstituted calcium chloride ready to use again. Let it cool completely, store it in a sealed airtight container, and refill your colander. The same $4 of raw material working again. Cycling the same batch through absorption and regeneration does not degrade the compound. You are simply removing the water it collected. The same batch can be regenerated and reused many times. 3 things to know before you regenerate. First, ventilation. As the water evaporates from the brine in your oven, that moisture enters your kitchen air. Open a window or run your range hood. This is not dangerous. You are evaporating salt water, not producing fumes. But a kitchen absorbing the moisture you are trying to drive out is working against itself. Second, use an oven-safe glass container. Avoid metal that might react with concentrated brine over repeated heating cycles. Third, do not try to rush the process at higher temperatures. Above 400 degrees Fahrenheit risks melting or altering the calcium chloride. Stay in the 300 to 400 range for clean, complete regeneration. Now for the honest limits, because you deserve the full picture. Calcium chloride is an excellent passive dehumidifier for enclosed and semi-enclosed spaces with moderate to high humidity. It is not a substitute for a powered dehumidifier in a severely water-damaged basement or a space with active water intrusion. If the walls are wet, if water is entering through the foundation, if you are dealing with flooding aftermath, that requires a machine with a pump and real capacity. Calcium chloride is the right tool for preventing the conditions that lead to those problems, not for remedying them after they have occurred. Handle it with basic care. It causes eye irritation on direct contact and can irritate skin with prolonged exposure. Keep it away from children and pets. Do not apply it directly to metal or leather surfaces because the brine is corrosive. Dispose of saturated brine down a drain with plenty of water to dilute it safely. These are the same precautions that apply to any concentrated salt. Here is the part that most people in the DIY space overlook. The common belief is that disposable moisture absorbers are a convenience product with some kind of proprietary formula. They are not. Major chemical companies like OxyChem and Dow Chemical produce calcium chloride in bulk for road de-icing, food preservation, and soil conditioning. That same industrial chemical gets repackaged into branded plastic tubs and sold at 3 to 4 times the raw material cost. The global dehumidifier market was valued at $4 billion in 2023 and is growing steadily. One brand, one product, generates tens of millions in annual sales from a raw material that has sat in hardware stores for decades at a fraction of the retail price. The disposable format is the entire business model. The tub, the branding, the built-in reservoir, all of it exists to make you throw away something that was always capable of being regenerated and reused. Since the 2010s, social media has brought attention back to traditional moisture control methods like this one, and as of 2023, there has been a growing movement among low-energy living advocates pushing non-electric solutions as real alternatives, not just stopgaps. The chemistry has been understood since 1836. The only thing that changes is whether consumers know the regeneration step exists. Tell me in the comments, what space in your home are you going to put this in first? The basement, the closet, the boat, the RV? The chemistry never changed. The only thing that changed is whether you know you can put it in the oven. Now you know. Subscribe so you never get sold the disposable version of something reusable again.